this is Courtney Murdoch from Love Lives On, and today I am speaking with Beverley Molander, co-author of Heartfelt Memorial Services, your guide for planning meaningful funerals, celebrations of life, and times of remembrance. So welcome, Beverley, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Courtney. Glad to be here.
Amazing. So the first question I have for you is, a lot of our viewers have asked, how long does grief last? How would you respond to that question?
Grief lasts as long as you need it to, and sometimes as long as you want it to.
Right.
Because many of us, when we lose a loved one, as soon as I read this question, I thought about my mother, who died in 2008. And it's funny how the underlying feeling like lead, not being able to move forward with grief, has subsided, but sometimes I'll be driving and I'll just say, Mommy, 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 I want to tell her something, or I want to ask for her advice. Right. So, that's a way of grieving, and a lot goes on with life in the midst of those little grieving spurts that we have along the way. So, Courtney, one of the things I want to just make sure to get the message across about is that, of course, grieving is a very good thing. To think, put a stiff upper lip, or just move forward and forge ahead. A lot of things can get stuffed in our gut and need to be released sometime. So they can be released now, or they can be released 5 years from now. So my suggestion is to let it go, let your grief go, and express it as much as you need to. Right. Another thing to be aware of is that you have a choice along the way. If you choose to be perceived by yourself and others as a victim of the grief, oh, I just can't get over losing her, or I just can't move forward. If you choose to be perceived as a victim, you can do that for as long as you live. Mm-hmm. And if you choose to move forward, you have a choice in that matter as well most of the time. So I would say to honor a loved one who has gone, a good way to do that is to move on and live life even though the other person isn't.
And our viewers have also expressed feelings of frustration when well-meaning family members and friends say things like, time heals all wounds, or I know what you're going through. What kinds of things should we say and should we avoid saying when we're trying to offer support to a loved one who's grieving?
Courtney, it's so funny. Our book is Heartfelt Memorial Services, your guide for planning meaningful funerals, celebrations of life, and times of remembrance.
Yeah.
And one of my very favorite parts of the book is Appendix 1, what not to say and what to say. And I just want to read a little bit about that, because
Absolutely.
This is the most important thing to remember for so many of us going through life. And I just want to make a point, because it's going to have an impact on you and the people you come in contact with.
For sure.
We suggest to say nothing if you don't know what to say when someone is grieving or someone is going through a death, rather than spout something that can never be taken back. We suggest that you not give advice, philosophize, preach, admonish, pretend everything will be all right, or show pity. With so many things not to say, no wonder many feel at a loss when coming up with the right thing to say. So when you're thinking about it's awkward when someone's going through a grieving process. You want to extend yourself, be there for the other person. However, maybe there are some things we can think about before we open our mouths. Like, for instance, if someone is coming to the end of life, maybe saying, well, gee, we'll see you next week, Grandma. We'll see you next week. And next week I'll bring Bobby. We'll see you. Well, Grandma is not lasting until next week. So you may have just wasted your last opportunity to express words of love to Grandma.
Yeah.
Um, Now, oh, and Grandpa, you know that chocolate cupcake isn't good for you. You need to be eating healthier food. Well, you know what? Grandpa's 93 years old. He got there in his own way, and he's going to leave in his own way. So that may not be the appropriate thing for you to make a judgment about. So here are some things to say that can be beautifully expressed from the heart. And this gives me chills to just think about how meaningful this can be, either to the person who is dying or the person who is grieving. And saying, I'd like to thank, we'll say the person who is dying, I'd like to thank you. You have done so many things as a mentor in my life. I've learned so many things from you, and my life is different, and I'm living it differently because of all of the influence I've had from you. How about you never cease to amaze me? You have been an inspiration to your grandchildren, your children, the neighborhood, and you've made a difference in the community. Or I've passed on your guidance to other people. You gave me words of advice when I was going into college, and I have passed on that same advice to other students. And thank you for your collection of fabulous recipes. Thanks for giving me the golf lessons.
Yeah.
Put me on some of the best greens in the world. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot we can say, and it's much more meaningful.
Right. And what advice can you give someone who's very stuck after suffering a loss? How do they get unstuck from that grief?
Well, I went through a time of grief a while back, and I was just stuck like that. It's like I wasn't calling people, people weren't calling me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have any enthusiasm, and I kept thinking about that song. If the phone doesn't ring, you'll know that it's me. So if the phone doesn't ring, you'll know that it's me. And I was thinking, nobody's calling, I'm not calling, I'm just blah, and I'm just stuck. And you know what? Sometimes we need to go into dormancy.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to stop, feel flat, not know what we're going to do next, and let that time be. Because just like the plants, just like the seeds that are under the ground in the earth, they're not dead. They're not fading away. They're just replenishing themselves and getting a nutrient that can help them to get above the earth and sprout once again. So when you're in a stuck position, if you just can remind yourself, this doesn't have to be forever. And then maybe doing one thing, just saying, I'm going to hang this picture over here because this reminds me of my loved one. Or I'm going to go for a walk in the woods and I'm going to pick the little flowers and make a little bouquet in memory of my loved one. Anything that we can do to just move forward and keep expressing, maybe including other people in this, can really help us to not take a giant leap, but move on forward, whatever we can.
Right. And you're a well-known advocate for the importance of planning meaningful funeral or memorial services for a loved one. In fact, you co-wrote a whole guidebook on the subject. Do you think that creating meaningful ceremonies has a therapeutic element?
Well, not only that, it's creating the ceremonies, but planning for them. Mm-hmm. Even with the guidebook Heartfelt Memorial Services we wrote, my suggestion is that you get something like this, get a book or get whatever you find, and start thinking ahead. because so many times we're so shocked when our mother dies or when our father dies or when a good friend has had a disease and dies, and then we're put into a situation where we're just immobilized. But when we recognize that every single one of us is going to be moving in the path towards the end of our lives, we can start saying, how do we want to celebrate that part of our lives? I think baby boomers are a good example. They've created new ways of looking at being 20 somethings, 30 somethings, 60 somethings, and on. And I think baby boomers are also creating a way of looking at an end of life experience as a celebration, memorializing a person, honoring that person's time on earth. So when we can plan ahead and think about those things and tie together something that would honor that person, we can't help but feel like we've done the right thing,
Right.
and feel a sense of elation along with our sadness that we've done the very best we can for our loved ones.
Yeah, and celebrating the life that they lived. And finally, what is your best advice to our viewers out there who are struggling with the loss of a loved one?
Here's something to just be aware of. It's not the same for every person. But I would say, if we're going through any kind of struggle, whether it's grieving a loved one or the loss of a job or anything like that, sometimes choosing to keep our feelings close to our vest, like in our heart, keep them there, and then share those feelings with the people we know and trust who are close to the situation, rather than being representing ourselves to the world as a grieving victim. We can choose a time to grieve with people who understand, and then, like someone has advised, and I think it has worked so many times, we grieve, that's a part of our real honest self, and we can decide to put on a game face when we go out into the world. The person at the grocery store, the clerk at the grocery store, or the coworker doesn't have to read everything that's in your mind. Even when you're grieving, you can choose to put on a game face and move into the world. It's not fake. You know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. It's self-protection. And another thing that someone gave advice one time with someone going through a very traumatic experience. She couldn't stop crying. And here she was moving out into, I have to be at work, I have deadlines and all of that.
Right.
And he said, put your mind where your body is. So when you feel overwhelmed and you must move on, you must go to your kindergartner's spring play, something like that. You must put on your game face. You say, I'm getting out my keys. I'm putting the keys in the car. I'm adjusting the seat. I'm looking to see if anyone's coming back of me. I'm putting up. That's what minuscule. Put your mind where your body is.
Right.
And then when you have the opportunity to grieve, then you take that time and grieve. You can compartmentalize, and sometimes that helps you to get through the roughest times.
Thank you so much, Beverley, for taking the time to talk with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Courtney. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh, thanks. This is Courtney from Love Lives On. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more ways we can celebrate our loved ones' lives now and forever.